You work here?
Welcome to the 2014 Gwinnett Center International Film Festival. I'm here with Jake Jacobson, who has a plethora of knowledge about film festivals that he's going to help us get a little bit more information about.
Once I figure out what plethora means, I'll be happy to help you.
A lot of information about.
Well, I've had a few years as a festival director, much here in Georgia. I helped create the Rome International Film Festival, which was a great festival back in 2004. And the Hollywood Reporter said it was one of the 10 best festivals in the country in our first year. So I was promoted from that to direct the Atlanta Film Festival, which had been around for 29 years when I took over, and it was the 7th longest festival in America, which was a big deal. However, it was the 8 millionth most popular. Nobody cared or knew about it outside of the perimeter. So my goal was, what could I do to embody what Atlanta's all about, and how can I address the cultural diversity of Atlanta with 137 nations represented here, and the great filmmakers from around the world, you know? So I decided to make it like a World's Fair of film. I incorporated young filmmakers. I went to the African-American community, said, I want your participation here. The Latino community, which is the Asian community, the gay and lesbian community. Everybody I could think of to incorporate it and make certain elements of the programming reflect that part of the community. Not necessarily Georgia filmmakers, but films that represented who they were. And people went crazy for it, you know. I mean, the Latino community is huge in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
And we never had a film that featured even people from Mexico or Spain, never. So I opened the film with a movie called Quinceañera, which had won the Best Film, Audience Award and Best Film at Sundance that year. And people were exposed to new film, which is what it's all about. I helped young filmmakers, and now this big TV series, Lost. Remember Lost?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The creators of that started with me in the Atlanta Film Festival. So a lot of great young talent I helped to boost their careers. Now Atlanta, I only lasted a year there. I was assassinated like Lincoln as soon as I got the war finished. No, I had some conflicts with some of the people who were on the board. They didn't like the fact that we were becoming a major film. They liked it minor and insignificant. I said, well, we move this to, you know, like Conyers and the Conyers Film Festival or Lilburn, then we can keep it small. But I said, we're representing the biggest airport in the world, one of the most vibrant cities in the world. We have to make it a player, a world influence. So I did that. They didn't like it. They offered me a big pay cut, which was personal, but I'll tell you. And then a couple of days later, I was offered a job by the Italian Film Commission, who had read about me in the USA Today, to come to Italy, to the Riviera, to run a film festival there with Sophia Loren and, you know, and George Clooney. So I thought, all right.
Which one do you do?
Well, they were like, how do we tear you away from Atlanta? I said, just send me a plane ticket. I'm there. They didn't know that because I was ready to leave. But so I left, and I've been there for years, you know. And now I'm thinking of starting something else I can't talk about in the South, film festival-wise. I was brought back maybe for that. So I could hire you and Ed, this notorious character, felonious character, and we can go from there. But I'm directing my first film now. It's a major film that I adapted from a short story, and that was about a 3-year process to get it actually going. Yeah. I've written 11 major film scripts. And the funny thing is, as soon as I start this film, Lionsgate, I can mention, bought one of my films, and it's a major film too. It's coming out probably in 2 years. Okay. It's, I don't know, you're too young to remember, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Oh, but no, it's about anarchy. It's a very hot, crowded day at a Walt Disney World type theme park. We can get sued if we mention Walt Disney World in the film. So it's like one of these Epcot Center style places. People are just fed up with the way the world's going, and they take over the park. Everybody, all ethnicities and stuff, and it's a scream. It's very funny. It's got these set pieces that are huge. And ultimately, we all work together to save the world and all that nonsense. But it's very dark. It's very sarcastic. But it's very funny. I think people really go for it. So, well, they think so. Yeah. I can't even mention the name, but it's pretty cool. So that's everything that I have is at once, this business. But the bottom line is you have to learn as much as you can and get to know as many people as you can, network. Like the wonderful guys on the panel today. These are people you might run into in this business. Mm-hmm. One important note I want you to remember, never burn bridges here. You're always going to wind up running into the same people. A lot of the important people will reject you. Doesn't matter. They might be rejecting you for whatever reason. They don't need you for this project, etc. Always make yourself available. Never say no to anything, really, too. If it lets you expand who you are and what you are as a filmmaker or a writer or a student, because those who teach, as I've done and lectured, our students. We need to we never stop learning.
Yeah.
And in this business, especially in Georgia now that we're becoming a major player and more Georgians are getting involved, which they never were before, it's important to go to classes, go to school, learn about the actual procedure of making a film, go on sets, volunteer as much as you can, because there's nothing more important if you want to work in the business, knowing what it's like to be in a set. I didn't just walk on a set and say, I'm here to direct, that camera should go there. Everything is storyboarded. Everything is known before you get there. The actors know their lines. It's just a question of shooting it and putting them in the right place. There's some improvisation, things like that. But like I adapted a screenplay from somebody else's short story. If you're writing your own work, you can play with that, but you cannot diss the original author of a work, and you can't diss a producer if they're paying your way. And a lot of great directors I know of have never worked again or not for years because they said the wrong thing to their producers. You've got to respect the people with the money. I know it sounds like you're whoring yourself and you're being, you're compromising. You have to do that sometimes. I mean, I played pool with Michael Jackson. I was 11, he was 13. You want to hear the story? It doesn't go there. With the pool sticks. Anyway, I'm in Miami Beach, and my folks took me to Miami as a vacation. So they booked me into the Playboy Plaza Hotel. Who's playing there? The Jackson 5. They just remember Love You Saved, great song, ABC. Yeah. They're number one in the country. So the sad thing is, the Playboy Plaza, if you're not 18, you can't go into the lobby, you can't go to the shows. So the only place you go to the game room. So my dad said, what am I doing? I'm checking you out of the hotel. My godfather gave me $2 to play pinball. I go downstairs, the Jackson 5 are there. Jermaine's playing pinball. So Michael's alone playing pool. He's 13. I'm a couple years younger than him. And he says, hey, dude. Nobody ever called me dude. I was like, whoa. I said, hey, man. I thought that was hip. He said, you play pool? I said, yeah, of course. I was terrible. Yeah, he said, you go there. I said, I'm better than you. So he said, well, I'll play it for, what do you got? I said, I got $2. What do you got? You're not beating me anyway. What's the difference? So we played. I beat him. I beat him in one game of pool. So Dad walks in, Joe walks in. He's like, all right, get your butts out in the beach. We're taking some pictures. And Michael said, Dad, I can't, my skin is sensitive. He didn't say skin is sensitive, I can't handle that. So he grabs him by the arm and he pulls him, Michael, and he throws him at the door of the game room. And he said, wait a minute, Dad, this kid over here, what about the kid? Oh, hi, kid. I said, how you doing? I said, your son just lost to me in pool. I expect some payment. He's like, all right, is that true, Michael? He said, yeah. So he comes over, he has a wad of tickets for the concert that night. So he said, how many you want? I'm like, whoa. I said, well, maybe I should take my parents. I don't know. They haven't been so nice to me. So my brother and sister stayed at home. It was just the three of us. So I said, I don't know, 6. So he said, okay, 6 front row. Is that cool? I said, it's cool, yeah. So he said, okay. And Michael just waved away. He said, take care. I said, have a good life or something. So that night we go to the concert. I'm in the front row with my parents. My dad met a newlywed couple, so he gave them tickets, who were thrilled, and somebody else. And halfway through the concert, he was just singing Ben. Remember Ben? Ben, yeah. A really corny song. So he ends it, he walks down the stage, comes over to me, and he gives me a hug, and he says, dudes, this is the best pool player in America right here. So I was like, I've made my pants, I was like terrified. So that was cool. So that was my relationship with Michael Jackson. But oh, wow. I could see he was a troubled kid, and he was lonely, and had some trouble, but I don't know, that's nothing to do with film festivals, but remember he did The Wiz? Yep. And with his old nose, as you know. And he had such a bad experience, he said, that he was crying to Lena Horne and Diana Ross every day. It's the last movie I'm going to do. And then, of course, he did Thriller, which isn't a movie exactly, but that was it. It's a shame. If he had a good experience, the whole point I'm saying that is that if he had a positive experience acting, he might have been a great actor. Who knows? He may not have died. It's like Elvis. Elvis was offered the lead role in Midnight Cowboy, a great film, which went to John Voight, made him a star, but his manager thought it would be too controversial. It was an X-rated film at the time, wasn't it? So it's all about opportunities, but again, expand yourself, expand your mind, do things. I love the fact that you're taking a chance with the Gwinnett International Film Festival. The venue here is beautiful. I mean, it would be my dream to see you turn people away and have a sellout kind of thing. I needed that by hiring people like having Sidney Poitier come and Ruby Dee and Cicely Tyson and Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, which was a controversial choice, but we sold out 3 shows of a film about her. So marketing is critical here, but you've got a wonderful thing, a wonderful festival here. And the panels were great, only because I was on one of them, of course. But and I love the selection process, too, of your panelists. But I want to tell you that I want to congratulate you on getting it done. film festival is difficult. You have some wonderful sponsors here, which is the great foundation. You got through the second year. I have news for you, like restaurants, a lot of them don't make the first anniversary. So this is a good foundation here, and I want you to build on this. And it's a great place to be, and I'll help you any way I can if you need any advice or anything to help get people, get rear ends and seats here. But the quality of the films is the bottom line, and they're very good. And I know, unfortunately, it's the last day of the festival right now. In Atlanta, I was running a 12-day festival, overseas too. This is short and sweet. So it's quality over quantity, which is great, because you're not filling stuff. You're actually, making these 3 days work. So again, with Kevin's blessing and good luck, and all that will be coming back year after year and celebrating the Gwinnett Film Festival. Maybe one day, as I was fortunate enough to have Academy Award consideration for our short films, you'll get that sanction as well. But it's a tough process. There are a million film festivals out there, and you have to exploit the fact that you're unique. What is great about Gwinnett, other than the big water tower that says Gwinnett is great here? And I'm telling you, the main room here, Foreman Arts Center, is as nice a facility that I've ever been in. I'm not kidding you, for a film festival. And I've been in New York, Sundance, blows it away. South by Southwest, So that's something people need to know about. And if you have to do things building up throughout the year, to have people come here and check out what you guys do, do it. If it's free, you offer food, as you know, you offer food, everybody will come out, like the media. There's a screening tonight. I've got things to do. We're serving, White Castle hamburger. Oh, cancel everything. It's going to be awesome,
You gotta wait till 5 p.m. when we get the beers open.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
And then you get your free drink.
Succulent. I lost 40 pounds this year. I can't drink anymore. Oh, you mean like soda? That's all right. Diet soda, great. That's what I get, folks, to come here, diet soda. But okay, I can't mention any names. Do you have any sponsors for soda?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Fanta, cherry, it's awesome. All right, that's it. But again, congratulations again, Kevin.
Thank you for coming out.
Second of hopefully many, many years in the film festival biz.
Hello, I am Rob Underhill. I have some work in the festival. Tonight, 9 o'clock is Fever Dreams. It's a feature, so I hope you all will come check that out. Then tomorrow at 3 o'clock, we've got a work we did together called Bragg and East, which will be in the 3 o'clock block for films. It's not actually listed, so I might have to cue you in on exactly where it is. But so I'm a director, producer, writer, editor, a little bit of everything as needed, of course. And on bigger teams, I generally direct and produce. I've got features in a bazillion short films, and my films have been over 200 film festivals all over the world. Won lots of cool awards, went to many neat places. And that's one of the neat things about being a filmmaker is when you do have some good luck with a film, you can travel with it and go places you might not have otherwise gone. And sometimes they'll fly you out, sometimes they'll put you in a hotel. This is all on the record. And so, yeah, I just love doing it, and I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina.
I'm Robert Wagner. I'm also out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I started up Triangle Productions. I also am part of Within a Yard Ministries up there. One of the things that we're actually doing as part of the film process here with Bragg and East, I don't have as extensive of a history as him. I've been doing it for a while, started as an actor, but did very well behind the scenes. So I do producing and acting is pretty much the two things I special in.
I'm gonna start. Excuse me. I'm gonna start with the first question. What are your current projects besides the ministry? What are your current projects?
Of course, Bragg and East is something we're both working on, promoting the short and hopefully making the feature. I've got several TV series I've been promoting, which are also standalone films. One is the Carrington Event. It's a sci-fi, end-of-the-world kind of story. And that's something you can find online. You can find all these online by going to robunderhill.com or Rob Underhill Productions on Facebook. Another one is a kind of Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt kind of feeling TV show called Fever Dreams. And we've kind of constructed a feature film around it, which is being presented at 9 o'clock. It's really good stuff. I hope you guys will come check it out. Creepy to the max, in a good way. And then we've got, I've got a feature I'm trying to get into the market called Darhi, the story of Emmett Till. And that one is actually won an award here last year, and that's been all over the world. It's really toured quite a bit, and it's ripe for the picking, so we're hoping to get it syndicated, get some distribution, that sort of thing. So really, I've got a bunch of projects in all different stages. Another one, Box Brown, is a feature film, 100 minutes, that's going to be hopefully here this coming year.
Cool.
I just finished up helping a project that's now in the stages of distribution called Adrenaline. I was able to help out with them, become great friends with one of the producers out there, Dell. That would star John Schneider from Smallville. He was Superman's dad. He was also Bo Duke in Dukes of Hazzard. It also had Gregory Allen Williams in it. Great cast, great film, and hopefully that will be released, I think, in the spring is what we're looking at for that. It's going to be a full feature. It's up in the air whether or not they're going to go straight to DVD or go theatrical, but it has the potential right now of going both. And they're working on picking which distribution company they want to go with, so they're doing phenomenal with that. I've always been that kind of guy who liked to have my my irons in a bunch of fire, but that was also a problem at the same time. So what I've done for the past 3 years is we've really focused most of our energy on this Braganese project, not only the ministry side of it, but the actual film. We've taken some very creative measures to go above and beyond what our budget would allow us. If you watch the short, we lit a house on fire. We got full SWAT teams out there with their armored vehicles. We were able to kind of take the elements of such a small budget that we had for the short and really stretch it out, which has drawn up a lot of interest. We just got back from the Cannes Film Festival, where it was featured in the short film corner there, and we got to network with a whole bunch of different companies. It was down in the Gideon Film Festival down in Orlando, Florida. And right now we've got 6 companies that are actually interested in the feature film. So we're back to the beginning stages of trying to get the budget ready to so we can move forward with these other companies. So.
Awesome. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is hand this mic over to the 3 guys that are sitting in here that have been, like I said, have been in here with me all day, and just let them pass the mic back and forth to each other for questions.
What was your path to where you are right now? Did you go to film school? Did you just grab a camera and write something quick and film it? What was your path to this point?
Well, I would say I've always been a writer since I was a kid. And when I first moved to North Carolina, and when was it, 97, a year after that, I helped form the first drama club at the community college out there. And I got to see one of my writings become a play. So that got me hooked on next directing and producing plays, which I did for years and did about 13 play productions. Then around 2005, a good friend of mine who's worked as a cinematographer in a lot of my works ever since, we teamed up to do a kind of a long short film, 30 minutes long. It was just gorgeous. I love it to death, and it's what got me really snared into doing narrative shorts and then narrative features. It's, of course, all people will attest, it's a tough way to make money, but in the meantime, I enjoy anything narrative, so I love doing music videos, promos, commercials, and anything I can get my hands on. I enjoy doing it, for the actual paycheck.
I started off with a passion of acting. I started as a very young kid. We were in stage plays at my church when I was younger. I did community theater, did theater in high school. I'm one who, most people say I hold myself, I don't know, I don't like to do a lot of language or things like that, and I was always having a hard time finding work. So one thing that I did, me, my brother, and my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend, we actually said, well, let's just start doing some of our own work. So we started doing some small short films, and here and there, did everything, pretty much camera, lighting, editing, we just, ran ourselves thin. The work wasn't that great, but it gave us experience. I took a couple of classes at a community college in New Bern, at Craven Community College. And then when I was maybe 21, right around that age, 20, 21, I got a deal on a project where I got to come in as an office production assistant on a movie called Southern Bells starring Anna Faris. Anna Faris was the blonde-haired chick from all the scary movies. And so we were in there just working in the office, and that was my first larger project behind the scenes. And they were looking for a song. I was a music minister at my church, played the piano, wrote music for the church, and they were looking for a song for Anna Faris to sing in the movie. And so I said, hey, look, I got this crummy audio tape that we recorded while we were playing at the church one day of some music I wrote. So they listened to it, and they actually picked a song that Anna Faris sings in the movie, which that went on to Sundance and was picked up and distributed, and I got a little check in the mail for that, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
And then I started doing a lot of the behind the scenes, went into another movie where I worked with Ralph Singleton. He produced The Graveyard Shifts, Pet Cemeteries, won an Emmy for Cagney Lacey, Because of Winn-Dixie, Juana Man, Clear and Present Danger, just a slew of movies. I got to work with him. He was the producer of a film called The Mill that was shot down near Charlotte in a little place called Salisbury. On that project, I ended up, through some creative thinking, I ended up saving them probably close to $30,000 with some creative ways of doing things and saving money. And I slowly just worked my way up. I came in as a production office assistant and worked my way all the way up to an associate producer on the project with some of the things we did with the film. So then just continued to work on other projects, and here we are now. So it's a little history.
Thanks.
I guess this is a question for you as a director. When writing a script, there's this, sometimes how you frame something can actually help tell the story. My question is, what is your take on, or how specific should someone be in that? Because I know that the director wants to do what their vision is.
You mean in the script writing?
Right.
Sure. And this has been something I had to learn myself because I'm a writer first. That's where I started, and I've written a lot of scripts that I've produced, or written scripts for other people's productions or whatever. And you have different hats, but one thing they tell you is that when you're doing a script, you want to write it in such a way where the director will feel compelled to shoot it the way you had imagined it. And you have to do it through trickery.
Right.
You can't say literally close up, push in, la da da. But if you describe it just so you'll entrance the director, or you'll charm him into I can see how I need to shoot this. It's basically you're making it seem like it's his idea.
Yeah.
And you're tricking him in a good way, of course. So that's the separation of those two powers. So as a writer, I'm able to take that hat off eventually, and when I direct, I like to just lay into it, because everything's got to be organic to be the best it can be. You may end up with an actor you didn't expect, or a location you could not have anticipated, and you want to take full advantage of the location, skills of the actor. Other people kind of came onto the crew. Maybe you've got a score composer, it's got a particular idea you need to help mold through the way you shoot the film. So the director really does literally facilitate an organic process between all the powers. They're really working with people that are way better than him or her in all these different categories. They're just making it all come together into this one piece of art, and which is the cool part of the process. But long story short, the writer, you want to
Lead them down.
you want to try to get your vision, because that's what's going to sell them in the first place.
Right.
If you just write an interesting story, well, that's not enough. You need to write awesome scenes too. And just to circle around real quick, it's interesting that Robert and I both have had these grassroots production experience. We've worked with very little resources to get a lot done from the beginning. So now that we do get budgets where we actually have some money to work with, we can get way more done than the other people that would be a little more spoiled or just don't realize what you can get done with limited budgets, which is kind of cool in a kind of drama kind of way, because you get to find opportunities for the action and the characters and the interactions to really become awesome based on what you got. So
It's definitely about wowing the audience, and if you can keep most of your budget on the screen, that's the most important. So the more that you can get, to think creative so that you can keep the most on the screen, because what comes up on that screen is what's going to create that marketability of that project. If it's something that looks like it was done, with an iPhone, and it looks like it was done on a $5,000 budget, that's great. But with ours, you wouldn't even be able to figure out how much would it even cost to light a house on fire and burn it down. How much would it cost to get a full armored vehicle with SWAT teams and everything else? Those budgets are just are huge to even think of. But to say that we shot that on a production, the actual production of that was under 10,000. Is just unreal to say we did that, and also shot it with Epic Red cameras and made sure that everything that we had was top of the line. So it's trickery, but
Yeah, it's either you're going to take a long time to make it so it's awesome enough, or you're going to have a kind of this infusion of all the resources at the right time, and that's of course what budgets can allow. You can actually get it all done at the same time instead of taking half your life. But one other thing I wanted to mention when I was talking about drama is that in this maelstrom of so much stuff going on, the last person you want to worry is the actor. Because, and I don't even like to criticize actors, to be honest with you. You know, they do hard directors. I tried that as a theater director, and it doesn't work so well. Especially film actors, not just because they're sensitive, and you guys are, but because it just shakes a nerve. You can't make someone act it better. You can make suggestions. You can do constructive ways to get what you want. But if you say, oh, I just really hated what you just did, there's no recovering from that. They will do worse next time. Anyway, that's a little aside there. But
I have to say he's very good at it, because when we were filming together, there were things that were going on behind the scenes that was just rocky as can be that would normally just make me lose my hair, which there's not much left to lose. That they kept at such I would never even knew it was going on, and he just kind of kept this. It's just awesome to have the spirit that he can bring. And as a director, I think it's very important, especially when you're dealing with drama, is to have a director and a cast and especially a crew that can bring that mellow, that easygoing, comfortable atmosphere to your actors. Because as I was trying to act in some of these scenes, there was so much chaos going on behind the scenes that I never even knew about until after it was over with. Which is very important, I think, especially in your drama, because there's some emotions there that you're trying to pull out that can be easily affected if something else is going on in the back of the head of the actor. So.
well, and of course, you were also serving kind of as the main line producer, meaning during the actual shoot, he's having to make calls in between scenes. Okay, I know I'm up next, but let me make a call, get the cop cars here for the next scene, and because he's just connected to these people, and he brought the resources as part of the deal, and he's producer and actor, which is a tricky combination. But I think that it can. One other thing about chaos and the maelstrom of everything going on is you can really lose focus of the actual story at some point, because there's so many mechanics. You got all these things going into it, like lights, set up the lights right, get the sound right, get the scene so it looks right. Well, somehow you got to still draw out the fantastic dramatic elements that make a story, no matter how cool you shoot it or how well you light it or whatever you do to it. If the actual story isn't coming out right, then you're kind of in a mess. Anyway.
How often does the, let's say, community assist you with your films? Like, let's say, like the SWAT, did they yeah, I want to be in this movie?
I'll definitely let Robert answer that. Yeah.
I had some connections to the police department. I was a Raleigh police officer. And so it was easy for me to call up the sheriff's department and say, hey, sheriff, hey, I'm over here doing this thing, I'm trying to do it for the community. I think that the aspect of what we're trying to do for the community at the same time drew more attention. It drew more desire. So you had Capitol Special Police who brought out all their cop cars for free and their uniforms, and they gave everything. When I was like, hey, can we do this? He goes, yeah, here's the keys to all of my chargers. Use every single one if you want. The Wake County EMS said, oh man, if you're doing something for the community, something good, yeah, we'll be there. So they're bringing out their EMS vehicles, and their EMS guys were in some scenes so we can create these huge crime scenes. And same thing with the SWAT team. We just, the fire departments and everything else, because of the elements that we were doing behind the scenes and some of the connections I had, they knew they could trust that I wasn't going to be out there making the police look bad. I'm sure it pretty much helped a lot.
Yeah, time and again, people open their doors for us to, I think more often if you're working on a story that has community value or is a social piece, stuff that have some social importance. But in general, we live in an area that's very film friendly. Like there's very little asking for, you're not in LA where they're saying I need location fees in the thousands to use this for an hour. It's more like, well, if I have to staff someone, pay his hourly rate, that's usually kind of about it, just cover their cost, maybe a little for electricity or whatever, but it's very friendly. We've found a lot of doors opening for us to shoot where we need to shoot.
Okay, this is just last bit of curiosity, but was the fire department having this house to be burnt for training? Is the reason y'all light it on
Yeah,
fire?
we ended up using the fire department who was using it for the training, and we were able to connect with them and get the permission to actually be on the set with them, burning the house down.
And full disclosure, there's another production team that we had a common person with. Our cinematographer was the gaffer of this other production who actually had located the house. They'd worked really hard to find it, and then they agreed to allow us to come on and shoot our scenes in between theirs. So it worked out really good. And
Teamwork.
yeah, very good teamwork. Like I said, it's not just the businesses. The filmmaker and community is very friendly, and they try to help each other any way they can.
You know, and also, while, you know, because shooting a film's great, you know, shooting drama is great. But the big thing is, if it sits on our shelves, it's really serving no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our idea is to get our story out there, is to actually get people to see it. So a few things that, you know, we've learned and some of the elements that we're actually putting in, since we've gotten all these companies that are on board who want to help us actually distribute this project, they've been feeding us a lot of advice, and the advice to how we can make this thing more marketable. So in our mind, we always think domestically, just because we live here, we experience here, we have the emotions of what it's like here in America and everything else. But how do we make that? We've got the rest of the world out there that is very much, we can, you know, make money off of the rest of the world, off of our projects. And how do we do that? For example, one of the things in our film actually deals with, it's a police officer and a gang member. They kind of get down this they both get hardened by the streets, and there's a breaking point in their lives. Well, if you focus too much on one of the things that we told is if you focus too much on like the blood gangs or Crips or whatever it is, you're really focusing too much domestically, and the rest of the world is not going to know anything about it. The idea is to, if you're dealing with heavy drama, is to focus on human elements. The more human element you can focus on, the more it translates across the country and across the world. You know, the element of someone growing up in a poverty area and turning towards crime and drugs to try to make it in life and getting that breaking point, and then the battle between police, whether they're good cops or bad cops, and the crime, that's all over the world, and that translates. So, you know, things like this, you know, they were telling us if we can creatively come up with this game plan, we have a huge market in Mexico, Brazil, South Africa, areas that we would have never thought that we would even be, you know, and writing the scripts and everything else we never thought of. You know, so making sure when you're dealing with drama and any drama that you put in it, look at the human element of it so that you can be marketable in other countries, because sometimes you can make your money back easily just in the foreign market. So that means anything domestically would be profit. So.
I guess that brings me to the stated mission of the panel, which is, you know, how has drama evolved in film? I guess you've gone, you know, to some extent, if you've answered, you know, some of that. I'd like to hear more about how has drama evolved.
How is what evolved?
How has drama evolved? I think that was listed as the
How
stated.
has drama evolved?
Yeah, I think that was listed as the stated mission of the panel.
How has drama evolved?
Well,
I think it evolves with, you know, what is the going thing and, you know, what's popular. You know, what's a popular element that's going on. I think drama's always been there. And how do you define drama? Drama is any type of emotion, you know, whether it's happy, sad, you know. Most of us refer to drama as this inspirational or sad movie or something that has to do with change or love or something like that. And a lot of that has to do with the way the world changes, you know, and the way you know, we adapt to things, you know. You know, is I'm trying to think of something that's pretty popular right now in a drama, you know, a very dramatic thing. So you got crime, yeah. So, you know,
lots of police dramas
a lot
out
of
there.
police drama right now is a huge thing right now.
Used to be soap operas.
Yeah, and soap operas are
So that's an obvious
There you go.
example of evolution of drama, is whatever, part of it's whatever the market's hungry for, and you can kind of drive the market a little bit, but you more become, I mean, working people in the industry, they're going to go where the market takes them for the most part, unless you're independently funded with billions of dollars, or the Coen brothers or something, then you can get a little risque with the rules, or you're, Quentin Tarantino or whatever. But most people have to kind of follow the rules of what supply and demand is out there, or at least what the production companies think is the demand.
The biggest thing to know where drama is moving and where it's going in the future and what is actually popular is being up on the trends, going to your American film markets, going to the Cannes film festivals and going to their market, networking with these distribution companies, because they're the ones on the front line actually trying to sell it.
Pulse.
And they know what people are wanting to buy. They know what countries are looking for what. And a lot of the times, I mean, you'll get some guys that are just complete jerks, and you talk to them, say, hey, man, I went up to one guy, hey, I'm a producer from Raleigh, North Carolina, and, we're looking to do this project, and we're looking for some advice so that we have something that could be marketable. And his first thing is, how much money are you going to give me? I'm not telling you nothing. Don't waste your money. Get out of here. And then you get some that open their doors and say, yeah, let's sit down. Let's talk. I love your idea. I think it's marketable. And these are some elements that you need to make sure you hit in that, because these are the things that are selling right now. So I think to understand the true evolution of drama, I wouldn't know of any source outside of the actual market itself to kind of see what the trends are going and what's the most marketable trend. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that'll say like cable television's kind of going through a golden age.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Hour-long
Yeah.
drama on
Which is cool. I'm really
AMC has
happy.
kind of really driven
Yeah.
that. I mean, for a while, HBO has been doing it for years, but now the
Well, it's amazing. They're making
non-subscription
shows that are
channels
like movie quality shows,
right.
Breaking Bad. It's just unbelievable shots,
Yeah.
settings, wonderful acting, and that we've seen this time and time again with all these shows, and,
Yeah.
and I really am excited about that, because at my core, and I think a lot of people's core, they want human stories, and they want something close to realism too.
Right.
People really hunger for it. Maybe we all like a funny comedy or something silly, or TV, or like a cartoon type thing, but things like soap operas, they're obviously really fake and extraordinary, which maybe is why we were so attracted to them for a while as an audience.
Fantasyland.
And then what's that?
It's like a fantasy.
Yeah, like fantasy type stuff. But I think we kind of want that too, but we also want it to feel real, like it could really happen to us, or we're really experiencing it with the characters, which actually is a very important element when you're making movies.
There's things you can do on cable that you can't do on network television, just in general. Like I know the Constantine that's coming out this fall, and like the comic book character, he smokes like constantly, but
Which is kind of a big no-no
you can't
these days. Yeah.
do that, and they're trying to figure out a way
movies.
to like insinuate that he still does it, but they can't show it. Whereas if it was on FX or AMC or one of those other channels, USA, they could actually do that without having to.
That's right. That is a very interesting factor. Like, what can you put on regular TV versus the cable channels? And then, of course, we got these new markets through things like
Internet.
Amazon.com even has their own
Yeah,
stuff.
Hulu,
Yeah.
Netflix, and Yahoo Screen, they're starting that thing with Community. And
And that certainly opens the doors, too, to put
Yeah.
the kind of content they feel like putting out there.
The number one thing I think is it never hurts to ask if something's going to work before putting money or time or anything else into it. It would be better to, and don't get so emotionally attached to the script or the idea that if someone says, hey, that's not going to work, put it away, because it doesn't mean it won't work tomorrow.
Right.
Those elements may be interesting to you. And Ralph Singleton once told me, he said, when you're shooting a film or when you're making a movie or you're working on any type of drama or anything, when you're filming it, you're not filming it for yourself, you're filming it for your audience. So every element that you put into that, you need to be looking at your audience. Now, for a while, I used to hate laugh tracks on TV shows. I just hated them. And you'd hear all these people, we need to do away with laugh tracks and everything else. Most of the people that were saying that were film guys, because they didn't like it, but it worked. And if it worked, why eliminate something that works? Unless you start to see that trend starting to move that way, don't change something that's working. And so don't be scared to ask, and say, hey, is this going to work today? And a lot of it has to do with networking. If you're looking at producing or directing, or you're looking to actually sink into your first feature film or something like that, get to know some people who are out there selling the product, because they're going to be able to tell you what works and what doesn't work.
hmm Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't be scared of rejection, and you got to remember that you're not an artist with a paintbrush making your oil painting. You're working with a team of experts who passionately love the element they're contributing to the movie, and if you're directing, you're directing their energies in the right direction. It's pretty literal, but at the same time, no, yeah, you can't be so in love with the script you can't change it. You can't be so in love with anything really. You got to really be ready to. That's what they say. Make magic happen, and magic can't happen if you keep it closed in.
And in any film you do, within the first 7 to 10 minutes, something has to happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Don't do this thing where it's this huge long buildup of characters, because within the first 7 to 10 minutes, something has to happen that has to attract your audience and keep their attention. And that was something. That was another thing Ralph told me. He was like, when he was looking at scripts, he was like, first 7 to 10 minutes, something has to happen. Whether it's a dramatic situation or whether if it's a horror film, it's something scary or something suspenseful happens. Something has to draw that audience into what you're trying to portray or what you're trying to deliver. Something has to pull them in within that first 7 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, most companies won't even look at them, because your distribution companies, when they look at it, the first thing they're going to look at is your poster. Right? I don't know how many times I've been to the $5 bin at Walmart, and I'm just throwing through all the DVDs, and I just see a movie I've never seen before, but the poster is the first thing that grabs your attention. The second thing they look at is a trailer, if you got a really good trailer. If it's a good trailer and it seems attractive, because most of the time these guys don't have time to sit down and watch the whole feature. So if you've got those two elements in place, that right there is going to attract them, and that's going to take your stuff and put it towards the top versus just being thrown to the bottom and I'll get to it if I have time. Those two elements, great poster, good trailer, and of course number one, everyone's going to say who's attached. Get a name attached, and it does cost money, but names are so important.
This is Robert Wagner, so you can attach him.
There you
Just
go.
use his real legal name, and they'll probably sign you on. Right.
Which one's harder to make, a TV drama or an episode-based drama or a movie drama? Because I know you get time to
No,
put
there's
stuff
two.
in.
There's really two answers to that. One is which is easier to sell in the movie drama by far. TV drama, if you make it and it's awesome and amazing, you probably get some people to look at it and they might buy it from you if it's already made. There's very few companies that'll go with an outsider and take the script. There's very few that'll even remotely consider it. It's just it's a gauntlet to get anywhere. And of course, the farthest I've gotten with my sci-fi is a meeting with the Sci-Fi Channel, and they ended up passing on the project right before they came out with Revolution, which is surprisingly similar to mine. But it was already in the works. I can't say they took it. And so, yeah. But they're both, to me, they're both kind of dramas. They've got to have a self-contained story, but with lots more, I guess, threads that can be woven into the next episode. But of course, a lot of movie makers like to do that too, if they can, so they can have the possibility of a sequel or whatever. But yeah, movies in general, short films especially, is a great way to experience the whole gamut of emotions and work and experience. So
Everyone who's seen Braganese always says, hey man, this would make a great television series. And when we went to Cannes, we even asked them, that was one of the number one things on the table was, should we go television or feature? And everyone there was saying, you need to go feature first. It'd be better to do a successful feature and spin a television series. It'd be easier to do that than to try to start off with a television series. Like you said, you got all these networks out there. How are they going to trust you to be able to produce a film in a timely manner to be able to air it on time? Or are they going to come in and take over complete creativity, bring in their own producers and produce it themselves? It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to create something just to sell it, well, maybe that is possible. But the feature film seems to be a little easier way to go. Don't get set, and I know there's probably more producer side of things, but don't get so set on theatrical release, because even though you can make more, the dollar amounts in theatrical release are more money in reality than your budget. In reality, you could still be in debt to the distribution company for the theatrical release. But
It's also more likely that the distributor would want more creative control in that situation.
Sure, yeah, a lot of them want to basically take it out from under you, if they can, yeah.
If someone wants to talk about that, I learned a lot recently about going to theater, what it costs, and the goods and the bads of the outcome of it. If someone wants to talk about it afterwards, I'd be more than happy to
But
share.
there is a third way, which does happen. The third way is, for a TV series especially, is you build your own fan base. Now, for most human beings, that's a very difficult thing because, you know, I think I'm up to 2,000 Facebook friends, but that's not going to sell me 100,000 DVDs or, you know, you're talking about people who get millions of hits on YouTube that can actually make it happen. But certainly they are the success stories you could try to model after and build a community of people that are firebrands and they love what you do and they keep spreading the word, and that's another way to do it, is to self-distribute. I wish I had more time for that kind of thing.
Okay. How have you raised financing? Is it from your own pockets and you just, whatever you make on this project, you just pile it into the next? Or have you succeeded in persuading producers or finance companies to finance your projects?
I think we've had all different scenarios. You can start.
Well, Bragg and East, for example, the way that's been funded is that is actually a 501c3 because we're doing the ministry with it. So that's all nonprofit. So we just go out and do fundraisers. We ask for people for money. We tried the Kickstarter thing. We were unsuccessful, just like a lot of people are. So, you know, we don't have the fans like most Kickstarters that are popular have that reach already. So because, you know, we did donations, I've also dealt with investors where, you know, you can set up an LLC and work it that way and, you know, actually have them buy in memberships into the LLC. And they, depending on the number of memberships they purchase would be their percentage. There's many different ways you can work it. I've put a lot of personal money into it. You know, sometimes, you know, it's, especially if it's your first project and no one's ever seen any work you've ever done before, it's hard to get someone to come off of some money. So sometimes it means, hey, I need to come out of pocket for this first time, you know, or, you know, partner with a group of people who can do it, who has that, like, you know, Rob or us, you know, you could say, look, and we want to bring these people in to help us. Well, then all of a sudden, Rob's got this slew of stuff that he's done and the success in the film markets and the awards and things like that. Bringing him into that project brings something that if someone was going to put money into you, they're going to see that, okay, something can be completed. You know, we know this will be completed, and we can show them quality work, saying, hey, you know, there's some quality work that can be done. So partnering with someone, anyone that you may know that has done projects before, is another way. I mean, the big thing is most of the time, first few times, it's coming out your own pocket. And,
Or the rich uncle scenario.
Yeah.
It's not worked for me.
Yeah, I don't have a rich uncle.
But I haven't asked him yet. I'm saving that card for later.
I got a good project for you, by the way, to ask him for.
I'm trying to think of some other things. So the ideal situation is sole investor, and it becomes a partnership. So a number of times I've had one person who put the money down, and I still have a % of ownership in the quote-unquote company. And anytime you've got a bigger project, you will usually make it into its own company, which protects everybody, of course, and it has its own power so that you can have the opportunity to, because when you're going to work with TV stations and stuff, you either have to have an agent or an attorney doing all the work. They don't really want to talk to you if they can help it. In fact, they can't legally for legal reasons because they can, you know, you can come after them later and say, hey, you know, they stole my stuff, whatever. So they protect themselves by not working with average people. And I'm trying to think of other ways to get money. Getting money. Yeah, a lot of things have been personally spent money, especially narrative film. I love it. Most of my original stuff was all out of my pocket or partnering up with a few people. But once you got a few quality works, then you can also, that becomes powerful because you can say, you use that, like you were saying, as a bargaining chip. Like, look, you're a good actor. We need a good actor in this project. Look at my last project. See how slick it looks and how good I'm going to make you look. And they'll agree to work on it for free or whatever if you're going to make them look good. That's you know, that in a way becomes a kind of payment for up-and-comers, you know, to work with more quality people because they know what they do is not going to be just something that sits on the shelf or never goes to festival or they wouldn't even want to show their own family. That's not the kind of project you want to people are going to sign on for. So.
Do you guys find yourself getting a lot of people say, gosh, I don't have to do it for money, I want to do it just to help out?
All the time.
It definitely happens, especially things like we were talking about with locations or people supplying goods, and depending on the type of project, if it's one that's good for the community, like Bragan East, you'll have churches open their doors, people will offer free, they'll offer lunches, all kinds of stuff come to you depending on what you're working on. If you're doing a horror movie, well, you actually might get a lot of, people love to play zombies and stuff, so you actually get a lot of help there too, but for different reasons. So, yeah. Yeah.
My best friend from high school was going to go off and make money as he was walking across the street.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of product integration? It's a little different than product placement. Some people say they're the same. I look at product placement as, this is Aquafina. Thank you, Aquafina. You could send a check to my address. You look at Aquafina, it's just here, we're drinking it. There's really no special thing to it. But if me as a character in the film says, gosh, man, isn't this Aquafina so much better than that water out of the machine over there or whatever, all of a sudden you're creating an advertisement within the film. It's not just being placed. It's integrating it into the film. It's integrating it part of the thing, whether it's a named actor who's actually using that product. So one thing you could do is, and I've done it, and it's hard work, and you get a lot of no's, but you can go to local businesses and say, hey, look, we're looking to do this film. This is where we plan on going with it. We'd like to use, we're looking for this type of business or this type of product. We want to shoot at. It would be advertising for you. It's going to cost us X number of dollars to film this, and we're looking for, we're going to shoot a low budget $5,000 short film, and we're looking for 5 businesses that are willing to give $1,000 to integrate their product or their business into this film that we're going to go out and sell. It's about being a salesperson. So that's another outside the box creative way of thinking, how can we raise some money, and how can we do it creatively? So, and then you get stuff for free all the time.
And you said the whole the distribution company trying to take the property away from you. You said.
Yeah, so the only way you can prove to them, especially if you're an up-and-comer, that you've got something and they want it, is if it's already done, and then they buy it done, but then they can't take away your name and that sort of thing. But if you have a great idea, no matter how good of a production team you have with you with a good idea, for instance, there was a pitch we had for a separate project for National Geographic, and they were very interested, but they were very frank in that, our only thing we're going to want to do is take this from you. There's no other option. So if we end up making a deal, we're going to take it, produce it, do everything, and you'll be, of course, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, I'll be lucky to have a name at the very bottom of the credits, under those circumstances. Now you can, dicker and deal a little bit, but there's just so much content, there's so much good stuff being made, and especially if they're going to foot the bill of producing the thing, they don't want to waste a lot of time with hang-ups because they don't have to. They can just buy these things from other writers or whatever and act like it was their idea. So yeah, it certainly can be like that. Not it doesn't always happen, but it's tough to get it in a position where you can actually produce the thing. Unless, actually, I'm going to do this real quick. Unless you go back to the name talent thing. So if you've got an actor, let's say Mike Tyson wants to do this reality show with me because he likes me as a director. He doesn't want some other schmo, on PBS or Lifetime or whatever. He wants to do this reality show and wants me to direct. Well, there's not a lot of arguing with that. I would be hired as a director, and we'd be doing a show with that someone would fund, in one of these networks with, Mike Tyson. So it goes with other, that's just a well-known guy, but actors too. If you got like Brad Pitt and wants to work on a film, then well, there you go. You already have pre-sales and everything before you even started writing the script.
Yeah.
Does anyone here know Brad Pitt or someone equivalent?
I know a Brad.
Hey, Brad, okay. All right. Well, I know a Robert Wagner, but it's not the same one. Well, sure. I think, well, there's a few ways you establish your credibility. One is, of course, having something you can just show, but obviously film festivals, if you got something that was in one of the big ones, South by Southwest or Sundance, and then some of the other ones count too, you are suddenly a player, and people are going to take you seriously. If you directed, produced that, or were cinematographer on one of those films, you're suddenly a hotshot, and people are very interested in finding a way to fund something that you're doing. Or you got credibility like myself. I kind of did the hard way of doing the festival tour over the last few years, racking up awards and that kind of thing. So now someone will go to my IMDb and they'll say, oh, okay, this guy knows how to make a movie, and and he can find an audience, and he can find eclectic judges that like it too. So that becomes a kind of a resume piece. And now I have people actually contacting me and saying, I want to make a movie, I've got some money. So at very least the baseline is there's some money on the table to get something done, and then I can decide if I like the project and that sort of thing.
Okay, I don't know if y'all be able to answer this question,
Okay.
but it's starting to a little bit going hand to hand now. But how's it affected you? Like, let's say, from video games got a lot of drama in it, and they're starting to, hey, let's make this a movie, and they're also making movies in the video games. Has that affected people's writing or how they would produce the film?
Well, I can only guess. I mean, I certainly could. If it's a big enough movie, you're kind of developing, my understanding is you're going to develop like a whole bunch of products. So when I make the next Lord of the Rings, it's going to come with the game, it's going to come with the t-shirt, it's going to come with the mug, it's going to come with the soundtrack, it's going to come with the album, it's going to come with anything you can possibly imagine attached to it, including the game, of course. So I'm sure that they develop that content while they're developing the movie. But something like on a more indie level, that's not something I've had to deal with.
No.
But it sounds cool.
Because I was just wondering, because they want to make Last of Us a movie, and how the Resident Evil games, they
Oh, it's very
went
interesting
way
how-
off
yeah.
the movie path.
Sure.
So
That's real interesting how those things can spin off each other.
It's a,
Yeah, you do hear about that sometimes. Sometimes a really amazing trailer can sell the project. And I heard about one deal. I wish I remember the exact project it was, but there was this animator that made these really cool robots, like a 5-minute movie, and the next thing you know, he's getting bid $20 million plus. There's a bidding war between studios to make the feature. That's one of those Cinderella stories that happen barely at all, but it's pretty neat when it happens. I can give you a couple more suggestions as new filmmakers. Go on things like Southern Casting Call, because that would apply to this area as well, southerncastingcall.com. And they always have projects, especially indie films, coming up. That's an easy way to get in contact with someone putting on the actual film and saying, hey, I'd love to come, just be a PA. And what you're doing is you're basically setting yourself up to see how all the different positions work. And you want to see it in action, being done properly, hopefully.
that's
and
called
if you can,
product integration right there.
yeah. And if you can, shadow people too, that's awesome. Like spend a day working with a sound guy and you'll, seriously, and get to do it a little bit and you'll know how to do it right, really
I've
quick.
had-
So,
Yeah, and I have to say, be careful who you ask to shadow, because
Oh, there's that too, yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten somebody that. Like
there's a lot of,
telling you guys.
can go to
and
their
producing-
webpage, see how legit they are, see who's working on it, go to their IMDb.
Oh,
yeah,
I know,
do a little research,
that
of course.
the person I shadowed was very, 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 very good, and it's just that sometimes they don't have time to, or they're working on something.
There's that too.
Security and integrity issue where they can't work with you, and sometimes they just don't have time, and they're not quite nice about telling you no.
And
But
before-
don't let that fool you. But like I said last hour,
Yeah.
it was, I had somebody that I wanted to shadow, and I went and approached him, and he said, it was the same, it was the director, and he said, no, but this guy is giving me more no buts. Let's do this, and then we'll get back together. And he called me. So, I mean, it may not be a shadow, but he'll answer my questions. So I'm like, I thought this guy was going to end up being a douchebagel, but he ended up being a pretty good contact network. So even though, these independent directors are kind of, just about like, sometimes some of them are like big name directors. They don't have time to do any shadowing or anything.
And do read, before you go volunteering a bunch of time, do some research on the person or the company or the group or the people that are involved, because you could go and get involved in something that is a waste of time.
Yep.
Could even teach you bad habits that are not good for the professional industry. So, you know, and I'm guilty of it. I've been involved in some of the projects where I'm sitting there, I'm like, am I really involved in this? You know, my name's going to be on this, you know, so you got, you know, do some research, look at their past projects, make sure it's the quality, they're producing quality, they're producing the right stuff, because once your name's attached to it, it's attached to it. And you also don't want to pick up some of those bad habits, so.
Then when you go there, but when you do decide you like a group, you got to be super enthusiastic, not too much. And you got to show up with a positive attitude, can do it, make sure you're working, don't stand around waiting for someone to tell you to do something necessarily. The worst thing is when someone says, oh, I'd love to help, and then they're standing in the corner the whole time, you know, waiting for specific instructions every time they're supposed to do something.
Oh my God.
And believe it or not, there's always kind of something to be done once you get the flow of it.
I was working
It's
on a
hard to get at first, but yeah.
I sent somebody home from my church piece because he was standing in a corner.
Yeah, and it's like, oh,
Directors
you're going to eat our
hate it.
lunch, but you're not going to pick up a sandbag. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I asked this of the producers. I'm going to ask this of the directors, but I think I asked you guys this in the first, and y'all answered what your current projects were in first question, so I don't have to actually.
Well, we
do
can
that.
close with ways to get in touch with our projects and us. You wanna
Can
go
we
first?
have, if you guys got cards?
And we have cards as well for the camera.
Yes.
You going to do a close-up of this, or how's this going to work? Yeah?
Cards.
Sure. So if you want to look more about what I'm getting into these days, I try to keep, the Facebook is the most up-to-date because I can post stuff every few days about a new poster or a new screening or a new movie we're working on. And that's facebook.com/Rob Underhill Productions. And then my website, which is, if you go to my website, you can find the Facebook, of course. The website is just robunderhill.com. And of course, our other project.
You could get up with me through, let's see, Twitter is @Wags, WAGZ Films, or Film. You can also get @Bragg and East, Bragg, BRAGG, the letter N, East. That's also braggandeast.com. Twitter's the @Bragg and East, Facebook /Bragg and East. We'll get you all those. I'm also on Instagram, which is Wags Film, and
Awesome.
Yeah.
so.
Who do you use for your casting? Because I'm trying to get into acting.
You're trying to find like casting director or agents? You're trying to get into acting?
Trying to get into acting, so I guess.
You'd probably want to go, you know, get an agent, but, you know, places like Southern Casting Call is a good one because, you know, a lot of your independents will put stuff on there. But I would also look into to agents. And one way, when I first was looking for an agent as an actor, the first thing I did is I went to Screen Gems, which is over in Wilmington. And the Finn Cannons are the ones who do all the casting over there, and they did it for, back in the day, what was it, Dawson's Creek?
They probably have an
Back
equivalent
then.
in
Back-
Atlanta,
yeah.
don't they? Anything like Screen Gems in Atlanta?
I don't think
Ringing a bell.
Finn Cannons
Okay.
does. I don't know if Finn Cannons got an office. They do a lot of the casting over there. So I went to the casting agent and I said, hey, you know, what agencies do you guys call?
Mm-hmm.
And they actually, believe it or not, had a list ready there for me. I don't know if they still do that there, but, you know, it never hurts because you want to get an agent who is on the list of these big studios so that you get those good opportunities. You don't want to get, you know, an agent that is going to charge you, you know, $3,000 because you have to take all these workshops and this and that and basically waste your time. You know, an agent shouldn't get paid unless you get paid. That's just the way it is.
I have one question for you guys because every time I ask it, I get back to different people. I get to ask different, what do you guys feel about extra work
Extra work?
to get started? I mean, for a bit. My manager says absolutely no, that I really need to stop now, but I'm not getting anything. I can't get anything else but, you know,
Too much extra work, I think, can hurt you. Some is okay. It's great to have that experience of what it's like to be on a set. The first time you're on a full movie set doesn't need to be the first time you're ever cast in a film and you're just completely flabbergasted by the lights and the cameras and all the crew and everything else, because that'll happen. So I believe in some extra work's okay. If you want to get into on a television show, doing a bunch of extra work on that television show is probably going to prevent you from ever landing a role. Because if you were seen too much as an extra, the chances of you getting an actual speaking role could be hurt. Feature films, sometimes, it never hurts to do a favor to me for a casting director. I was an extra on a Bollywood film down in Rockingham, North Carolina. I got bumped up to more of a featured role. I was the white race car driver, which the car I was driving was Ricky Bobby's car from Talladega Nights, which was pretty cool. But the casting director for that, who was asking for all the extras, who was the one who headed that up, also does other projects. And later on also then casted me in a television show, Southern Fried Stings, where I got to play a role there. And a lot of it had to do with that relationship I built. So I think it really depends on
I'm so very early on, so.
what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If it's a long-going television series, and you want to see if maybe eventually you can get a role in that television series, I'd limit my extra work in that.
Yep.
Now, if you're just having a blast, extra work can be really fun because you get paid to basically sit around, eat the food, and then usually, and then at some point they'll have you come out and do a couple scenes.
For example, I went to Catching Fire and went to prep and went to makeup and then sat the whole day and made $200 for doing it, and didn't even get called to the set once.
Wow. And they end up in the credits. So if you really just want to have fun as an actor, then that's great. I mean, I would rack them up.
And Georgia is such and now for us, everything's coming here. Like all three, I did not realize that all three of the Hunger Games movies, parts of them were shot here in Georgia.
Yeah, and you're, of course, real close to other real active states. North Carolina's got a lot going on and lots of extra opportunities there, too, which is not a big drive for a decently featured role if you get the chance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But agents are a good option. You'll notice when you're trying to do some indie film work that it's becoming more and more popular. I know I do this almost exclusively now, unless I'm going to outright offer a role to someone, is I'll have them submit video auditions. I really like to do that, and then the finalists I'll do something along the lines of FaceTime or Skype. The reason is because I want to see what they look like on camera anyway. So even if I had them in person, which is a nice ritual, except if they have to drive 5 hours, I'm still going to be looking at the monitor anyway. I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to sit here and stare at a monitor while they perform. So I found that it's a neat way. Plus, I don't have time to sit around for 5 people, hours at a time. So it's way easier for me to watch their 2-minute video audition and that kind of thing.